Hello, this is Dan for the Center of Political Innovation, and this is a morning message. And I want to talk about economics and an economic plan, because since the 1930s, there really hasn't been a massive program for the people, and we're fortunate that we got the New Deal. And I'll have another morning message about that story in the future. But for now, I want to talk about the CPI's 4-point economic plan, which is in the book. Do you believe in growth? Why Russia, China keep rising while U.S. society stifles innovation? And I can give some examples right now. I mean, I think hundreds of millions of people would be in favor of hundreds of billions of dollars being invested in our own country instead of being sent thousands of miles away for war. If we would take those hundreds of billions of dollars and invest them in our own country, imagine what we could do with the infrastructure projects. Imagine what we could do in even raising wages for the working class, right? So that they actually can afford things like buying homes and automobiles and taking vacations and sending their kids to school and being able to manage all of that stuff and have time for some fun and some things that they want to do in their personal time. It would improve the quality of life. It would boost the economy by having growth, right? And that is what we stand for as innovationists. The CPI's 4-point plan starts. Number one is a mass program to rebuild our country, hire the unemployed and put them to work rebuilding the crumbling roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals of the country, construct high-speed railways, new universities, new power plants, and give the country an overall tech upgrade to let innovation flourish. And that idea is kind of based on maybe a modern version of the New Deal, right? The WPA and the CCC, the works programs that put 15 million people to work. The government did that, right? And of course, I'll go into that story later. How we got the New Deal, might be surprising to some people, but I'll share that in a future morning message. It's a very hopeful message, actually. Number two, public control of our natural resources. The oil, gas, coal, and timber of America, the natural wealth flowing from the country's soil, should be utilized to make the country overall wealthier, not to enrich Wall Street firms. Utilizing our natural resources to fund the public budget would take the burden of taxation off the population. That's really true, especially when you realize that when the every crisis that happens in this country is manufactured, and believe me, the oligarchs, the wealthy, the super rich, they never let a crisis go to waste so that they can get wealthier. And what they end up doing is lending a lot of that money to the government at an interest charge, right? So when that gets paid back, guess who pays that interest through taxation? We do. So the big corporations, the huge corporations, technically aren't really paying their fair share when that process happens, when they're always given the advantage, just like stockholders are always given the advantage, right? Huge corporations have to make the priority making the stockholders happy, right? So that's why profits, that's what drives the economy. That's what drives a capitalist economy, right? Is profits over people. Anyway, that kind of sounds like public control of our natural resources. That actually sounds like more like what Venezuela is doing, right? With their oil. Number three, public control of banking and canceling of debt. A national bank as well as state and local banks should have a monopoly on credit and lend money strategically as part of an overall plan to expand the living standards and production. The debt that hangs over the economy as a curse must be lifted. The printing of money must be handled by the public, not the Federal Reserve ripoff system. Yeah, that's where, we, the working class, we should be involved in making the most important decisions, right? Why should that be left to a small group of people called oligarchs, which have more than what they even need, monetary wealth and all of that? And yeah, a jubilee, forgiving debt. that's definitely a big part of the economic plan of CPI, which makes sense. And then fourth, an economic bill of rights, similar to that proposed by Roosevelt in his final State of the Union address in 1944, to ensure a strong economy in the United States. The labor power of every person must be utilized. Healthcare must be made available to all. Quality education must be provided. This shouldn't be seen as a handout or charity, but rather as an investment in the nation. As I mentioned, it is human labor and human creativity that are sources of all wealth and expansion, and human beings must be properly cultivated to make a more prosperous country. And those are the 4 points of the CPI 4-point economic plan. So let's talk about this more and go into more details. And what do you think, right? And more morning messages coming. How about some music? Oh, and this is a really interesting history book that uses music to tell the history of our country. Anyway, this is Dan. Have a great day.